At CUC, we care about helping our customers. Here are some quick energy-saving tips from CUC so you can use less energy and save money. Set your AC Smart thermostat to maintain an indoor temperature of 87 degrees Fahrenheit or higher when you are away from home, and have the temperature cool to a comfortable 78 degrees Fahrenheit or higher when you arrive home. Adding insulation can cut your cooling costs by 15 to 45%, depending on your home's size and current insulation. Focus on insulating your attic, walls, and windows for the best results. For your laundry, avoid over-drying clothes. Not only does it waste energy, but it also harms fabrics. Dry towels and heavier cottons separately from lighter weight fabrics to save energy. Your TV and gaming setup can be big energy consumers. Save costs by reducing in-game settings and turning off your console when not in use. Remember, every small step counts. Use energy wisely and make a big difference in your energy bills and the environment.
When you run your own business, you have a career as an accountant, stock taker, delivery driver, therapist, legal expert, mother, father, and the rest. But there's one area you don't need to be an expert in. At Brava, we take the complexity out of your business solutions. We keep it simple, so you can get along with doing what you do. Brava, the Simplify My Business company.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Welcome to the 6th of 19 candidate forums for the 2025 general elections in the Cayman Islands, proudly hosted by the Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce. My name is Omari Corbin, and I'm honored to serve as the current president of the Chamber of Commerce. I'm also pleased to be one of the panelists posing questions to our candidates this evening. Before we begin, I would like to sincerely thank the 5 Red Bay candidates, Mr. Leon Gold, Mr. Philip Ebanks, Mr. Roy Tatum, Ms. Natasha Whitelock, and Ms. Dawn Thomas, for accepting our invitation to participate in tonight's forum. By appearing together on this platform, you demonstrate a shared commitment to the democratic process and to the people of Red Bay. Your presence signals your readiness to address the pressing issues raised by the community through a recent chamber survey, which has helped shape the questions that we'll be asking tonight. While time won't allow us to cover every question submitted, we will do our best to focus on the topics identified as most important to voters in the Cayman Islands and Red Bay. When the Chamber was founded in 1965, it was built on the principles of supporting, promoting, and protecting the interests of our members and the wider community. Remaining strictly non-partisan, we have proudly hosted these candidate forums every election year since 1988. We've provided a neutral platform for 9 elections, allowing voters to hear directly from those seeking public office and helping our community make informed decisions on election day. The questions for tonight's forum have been carefully developed based on past and current chamber surveys, our 3-year advocacy agenda, and submissions from the public in various constituencies. No candidate has received these questions in advance, ensuring a fair and open discussion. As an organization committed to supporting a strong and sustainable Cayman, the Chamber's advocacy efforts focus on 3 key pillars: building a future-ready workforce, sustaining economic success, and advancing quality of life. The newly elected Chamber Council believes that these pillars are fundamental to the continued growth and prosperity of our islands. Looking ahead, the Chamber intends to collaborate with the incoming government to develop a government accountability scorecard, ensuring accountability and transparency. Additionally, we will seek representation on key government boards and authorities, as we believe our members bring valuable expertise that can help shape effective policies and initiatives. These forums require months of coordination, and I'd like to acknowledge the tremendous efforts of Will and our chamber staff who have worked diligently behind the scenes. I'd also like to express our gratitude to Ashley Furniture and Home Store, CUC, Foster's, and Logic for their generous sponsorship, which has made these forums possible. Additionally, we appreciate our media partners, Cayman Mall Road, Cayman Live TV, and ICCI FM for broadcasting tonight's event. We are live streaming the forums, making it easier than ever for voters to tune in from the comfort of their homes. We hope this added accessibility encourages even greater participation in the democratic process. And now, it's time to begin. I'll turn the proceedings over to Will Panu, CEO of the Chamber of Commerce, who will serve as tonight's moderator. Will outline the forum's rules and introduce our Red Bay candidates.
Good evening, candidates. Here are the rules for tonight's forum. Each candidate will be asked a series of questions. You'll have 2 minutes to elaborate on each question, if you choose to do so. I'll notify you when the time has elapsed with 1 ring on the ringer at the 2-minute mark, and I'd ask you to wind up your comments. Each candidate will be allowed to answer the question without interruption and is free to differ with an opinion or position of a fellow candidate during your allotted response time. And at the conclusion of the forum, each candidate will be allowed 2.5 minutes to deliver a closing statement. And now it gives me pleasure to introduce the candidates for Red Bay. We begin with Leon Gold. He is an independent candidate for the constituency. He has been a resident of Red Bay since 1985 and is committed to his community. He has been an active member of the Red Bay District Committee for 8 years, working to strengthen the community with a background in sociology. Leon mentors youth and provides short-term employment opportunities. As a father, Leon successfully lobbied for free meals for school students in 2017, ensuring no child goes hungry. He believes in community engagement and has initiated cleanups and social events to foster local bonds and pride. Leon advocates for government transparency and creating opportunities for Caymanians. Leon is running for the 2025 election to ensure every voice is heard and to build a brighter future for all Caymanians. He focuses on cost of living, population control, education reform, traffic flow, storm drains, and recreational facilities. Welcome, Leon. Philip Ebanks is running as an independent candidate for Red Bay. He graduated from the John Gray High School in 1980 and worked in the hotel and tourism industry before joining the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service in 1982. Rising to superintendent, he led departments such as the Traffic, Police Administration, and Central Station. During his tenure, he contributed to law reforms, including traffic laws, and served on various boards. In 1994, he earned a law degree with honors from the University of Liverpool through the Cayman Islands Law School. In 1997, he became the first director of licensing, implementing key procedures still in use today and helping establish the Public Transport Board. Philip left public service in 2000 to pursue law, completing his articles with Appleby before founding his legal practice in 2005. His expertise spans property, family, and business law with representation in summary court, grand court, and court of appeal. He has served as chairman of the Labor Appeals Tribunal and a director of OFREG. A Red Bay Prospect resident for over 30 years, Philip is committed to inclusivity and opportunity as reflected in his campaign motto, "Our community, our pride, our Red Bay." Welcome, Philip.
Thank you.
Roy Tatum is the People Progressive Movement's candidate for Red Bay. He is a financial services professional with 33 years of experience in the banking sector of Cayman and Anguilla. His career includes retail, corporate, and electronic banking at a senior management level. He has been part of the PPM since its inception, serving as vice chairman and providing strategic direction for over 2 decades. Following the 2013 general elections, Roy became head of the Office of the Premier and political advisor to Premier Sir Alden McLaughlin. He coordinated government initiatives, advised on policy, and participated in high-level international delegations, including joint ministerial council meetings and constitutional reform negotiations. After the 2021 election, he served as head of the Office of the Leader of the Opposition and political advisor, demonstrating his commitment to governance. A Red Bay resident for 25 years, Roy's community leadership includes chairing the Jasmine Hospice Board, volunteering for junior achievement, and serving on the Immigration Appeals Tribunal. Roy's contributions during the COVID-19 pandemic were recognized with the Cayman Islands Certificate and Badge of Honor. He offers Red Bay constituents financial expertise, governance, knowledge, and community understanding. Welcome, Roy.
Thank you, sir.
Natasha Whitelock is a Caymanian Community Party candidate for Red Bay. She's a dedicated professional and community advocate with over 2 decades of experience in regulatory affairs, compliance, and intellectual property management. She currently serves as the Director of Administration, Compliance, and Regulatory Affairs at the Security Center Limited. She has worked for firms such as Appleby, HSM Limited, and the Cayman Islands Government's Intellectual Property Department, where she modernized registration processes and protected global brands. She advocates for workforce development, mentoring young Caymanians through internship programs. She is engaged in community service, leading charity initiatives, environmental cleanups, and voluntary programs in East End and Red Bay. She has championed efforts to regulate real estate development to preserve residential neighborhoods. Natasha is running for office to ensure Red Bay residents receive necessary services focusing on flood mitigation, traffic relief, safer roads, recreational spaces, and crime prevention. Welcome. Dawn Thomas is the Cayman Islands National Party candidate for Red Bay. She holds an associate degree in business from the International College of the Cayman Islands, a bachelor's degree in accounting from University of Tampa, and a master's degree in information services from the University of Phoenix. She is also a certified project manager. Dawn's career began in the retail industry, and she pursued her education through evening classes, earning her degrees and certifications with the support of a scholarship from Fortis Prime Fund Solutions. With over 30 years of experience in financial services, Dawn started as a fund accountant and quickly demonstrated her adaptability across various departments, including HR, finance, and compliance. Her talent for automating processes led to the creation of a data management department, which she successfully led. She later became the regional director for technology and change management, overseeing multiple offices and managing substantial budgets. At Walker's, she established and led a new project management office. She is a dedicated community advocate, having fostered 12 children, adopted 1. She transitioned to full-time entrepreneurship in 2018, founding 6 businesses in consulting, software development, nursing recruitment, and construction. Welcome, Dawn.
Thank you.
Well, at this time, I'm going to take a short commercial break, and when we return, I'll introduce our panelists, and we'll begin the questioning of our candidates. Please stay tuned.
When you run your own business, you have a career as an accountant, stock taker, delivery driver, therapist, legal expert, mother, father, and the rest. But there's one area you don't need to be an expert in. At Brava, we take the complexity out of your business solutions. We keep it simple, so you can get along with doing what you do. Brava, the Simplify My Business company.
Why is my bill higher? These days, it might seem like the cost of everything is going up here in Cayman. When it comes to your energy bill, this may be no exception. You may be wondering why your bill is higher when you haven't done anything different in your home. Here are some common factors that will increase your energy usage. As temperatures outside increase, your air conditioning unit has to run longer to keep your house cool, even if you haven't adjusted the thermostat. During the summer months, cooling your home can make up more than half of your energy bill. It's important to maintain your AC so that it can function as efficiently as possible. Changing your AC filters can also help with ensuring units are functioning properly. Remember, for every degree you turn up your thermostat, you can save on your monthly energy cost. Turn off your AC when no one is home. Thermostat should not be set any lower than 78 degrees. Also consider closing blinds and drapes on the sunny side of your home. This will help reduce the temperature inside your home. Remember to consider energy waste. Think about the items in your home that are using energy, like gaming computers and ceiling fans. Always unplug and turn these items off when they are not in use or needed. This will help you conserve. Now that you have some energy saving tips, you can track your consumption daily on MyCUC. Learn more at www.cuc-cayman.com.
Welcome back to the Chamber of Commerce Candidates Forum for the constituency of Red Bay. I have the pleasure of introducing tonight's panelists. They include Chamber President Omari Corbin and Chamber Councilor Jason Nera. So they will begin the questioning, and we're going to begin with Leon Gold.
Mr. Gold, we'll start with you for question number 1. Can you share why you have decided to run in this year's election and how you intend to represent the people of Red Bay if elected?
Thank you for the question, Omari. I have decided to run in this year's election because I'm tired of seeing our people treated as second-class citizens in their own country, and I believe we need to bring back the days of common sense leadership. MPs need to focus on the needs of the people and not their own personal agendas. I intend to represent the good people of Red Bay and the Cayman Islands with real, tangible action, integrity, and results. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gold. Mr. Ebanks, I'll repeat the question.
No.
You good?
Thank you. I am running for Red Bay because of the disastrous position of the last government in terms of the decisions that have been taken by the last government in terms of governance in the Cayman Islands. We've seen, everybody's seen what has happened there in the last government, where there's been a total abandonment of the real issues that the island requires to be dealt with. In Red Bay, we also have a further issue in that for the last 8 years, we've been under the progressive-led governance of the MP in that area, in which nothing has really been done for Red Bay. And as we go into the homes, we see where individuals are saying that things have not been dealt with, issues of the roads, issues of traffic, issues of the people in the district needs not being met. These are real serious issues, and as a result of this, they are looking forward to change. I intend to be a part of that change, to go forward and to deliver for Red Bay what it hasn't been delivered for in the last 8 years. My term will be marked by ensuring that there is a constituency office and a constituency council in which to ensure that the needs of Red Bay are met, that there's a connection between the MP and the constituency so that the constituency can be assured that their needs are being met, and not just the situation as it is right now where the politicians come around every 4 years and seek to be elected and without having done their jobs. I will be that MP who will be connected to the constituency and will ensure that the needs of the constituency are met.
Thank you, Mr. Ebanks. Mr. Tatum.
Thank you, and good evening. I am running in this election for a simple reason, for my love for Red Bay and my love for my country and my people. Red Bay has been home for 25 years. Red Bay is where my wife and I met. Red Bay is where we chose to build our home and raise our daughters, and Red Bay is the place where I intend to remain for the rest of my days. My love of country led me to join the People's Progressive Movement, or the PPM, 23 plus years ago. It is an organization built around people, and my purpose for joining them was to help build our country and to serve our people. For 8 years, I've worked alongside Sir Alden McLaughlin in the Office of the Premier. I've come to understand firsthand what it means and how important it is to have good government, and what it means to have good government. I've seen the governments of Sir Alden not only regrow our finances and build our economy in the aftermath of what was called the Great Recession, but also to serve our people. So I don't fully agree with Mr. Ebanks. As I traverse Red Bay, what I hear about Mr. McLaughlin is all positive, and about PPM management. I have worked inside the government administration building and in the parliament of this country. I know what it takes for a successful government to occur. I know what it takes to manage our country and what it takes to make the lives of Caymanians better. I've seen also what inexperienced government can cause, inexperienced government and weak leadership. And we've lost our direction these last 4 years. And I'm working alongside a team of strong, balanced PPM team to get the country back on track. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tatum. Ms. Whitelock.
Thank you. Good evening, residents of Cayman, panelists, and our kind hosts, the Chamber of Commerce. I am running for the constituency of my childhood home, Red Bay, because I believe in being the change I want to see in the world and working to ensure our children and grandchildren have a bright future. My parents and their generation voted with our best interests at heart and truly believed that their choices would result in us being a priority in our own country. The sad reality is that we are not. We have become a disempowered minority in our own home, the Cayman Islands. They would be ashamed of where we are today. Our country has come a long way from the days of beating mosquitoes, and we are grateful to our forefathers and mothers. They did the best that they could with the knowledge they had. They built a solid foundation on which we were able to construct the pillars of our economy and community. However, over the past 20 years, these pillars have been eroded. The people we trusted to make sound decisions on our behalf strayed far from the course, and along the way, they forgot about us, the Caymanian people. It is our turn to do the best that we can with the knowledge we have. We know our community deserves representation that is consistent, present, and not a repackaging of the same old ideas. We know the innovation ship has sailed, and we are not on it. And we should be. I will be an MP who listens and is accessible, who will be transparent, assertive, and support the will of the community on the national stage. It is time to enact a change of the guard, a new generation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Whitelock. Ms. Thomas.
Good evening, everyone. I'm running for in this election for the constituency of Red Bay, because the future of my kids, our kids, and the quality of life is at stake. The youth in our country feel they have no voice. They are hurt, they are frustrated, they are angry, they have feelings of hopelessness and serious concerns about their future. And that saddens me. Many Caymanians are concerned about the quality of life that they have in these islands and what it holds for them. And more are finding themselves without opportunities in the country, and many are struggling just to survive. Every 4 years, we hope for change and hope that the elected officials deliver on the promises. People are tired of empty promises, ineffective leadership, and the absence of any real solutions to the problems we continue to face as a community and nationally. The issues are not new. Cost of living is at an all-time high. Job opportunities are lacking for our people. Education system is in desperate need of repair. Our environment is constantly threatened by overdevelopment. Healthcare is unaffordable. Traffic is out of control. Poor infrastructure planning, and a much-needed immigration reform to protect the rights of Caymanians. Add to that looming reality of insufficient pensions. On a community level, road improvements are needed, CCTV, flood and drainage, and a missing representative I have yet to find. Governments are supposed to serve the people. Governments are supposed to protect the interest of people that elected them, not their own self-interest. Incumbents and parties that have dominated for the last 20 years, stepping forward seeking re-election or election, have the audacity to do so with a straight face, claiming they now have a plan to solve what they couldn't solve in the last 4, 8, 12, and 16 plus years.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas.
Mr. Ebanks, question 2, we'll start with you.
Yes.
What 3 national issues would you seek to address if elected?
The 3 national issues that I would seek to address are, first of all, to ensure that the opportunities end of the spectrum is sorted. That is in relation to the opportunities for individuals in the country to be able to have good jobs. That is the number one thing that I think that most people are concerned about. Opportunities are locked into the issue of immigration law. We need to make sure that the immigration law works to ensure that the opportunities are there. Right now, we have a situation where the systems within the work permit process do not work together. You have the different boards that their systems do not talk to each other, and therefore, when it comes to work permits and the renewal of work permits, the immigration process really does not work. Individuals do not get a fair opportunity to get the jobs that they deserve, and principally in that is because the timeline for the renewal of work permits is very short. What I would propose to do with respect to that is to ensure that the process for renewal of work permits is started 6 months in advance of the expiry of the work permit, and so that individuals out there in the public who might be looking to have an opportunity to move to another job will have a fairer opportunity to apply for that job. Also, individuals who are coming from abroad, students returning here, or people who have taken up work overseas will also have the opportunity. Within the other end of the opportunity spectrum is the opportunity for housing. Housing is a massive issue here in the country in the sense that the stock of housing is way down, and as a result of that, the cost of housing is up. You also have issues with mortgages that ensure that we must look at ensuring that mortgage rates are extended so that individuals will have a better term, long-term process in order to get the mortgages and get the rates down, and we need to bring up the stock of housing.
Thank you, Mr. Ebanks. Mr. Tatum?
Thank you very much. I'll pick up where my friend Philip left off. Housing. Housing is a major issue for us. Going back to the last PPM term, we started looking at housing. I remember having discussions that my own daughters wouldn't be able to afford houses, and over the last 4 years, that's just gotten worse. As Mr. Ebanks mentioned, loans but loans isn't really the issue. The issue is when interest rates rise, I question whether banks necessarily need to increase the payments for mortgages. Rates rise and rates fall. I am for SEMA regulating banks further in that regard. There are a number of initiatives that we need to look at for housing, including incentivizing the private sector to build more affordable housing. The other issue that I'd like to mention is the necessity for a public transportation system. There's been several reports done over this last government. The next government that comes in needs to prioritize this and actually look to see what it is that we need to do to develop a national transportation system. Buses may be the answer, but it may not be the only answer. Waste management is a pending disaster for us. We have the Project Regen waste management solution was stopped, and there is no solution in place right now. I heard the former Premier say on the forum that it's expected that the regen or the current dump will last hopefully maybe another 4 years, and then what? We have no solution in place. We need to find solutions for waste management. That is a major issue for us and a looming problem in terms of the environment.
Thank you, Mr. Tatum. Ms. Whitelock?
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it is unfortunate that we have as many as 10 top issues right now impacting our nation. If I had to choose any 3 of the 10, they would be public education. We need to refocus on the results. We need to refocus on our children. Children are being moved from one class to the next without adequately passing the one before. We need to put it back in the schools that the children can repeat a class if the need arises. We need to restate funding in early development and early childhood. We need to have extracurricular put back into our schools, the necessary funding put back into our schools for activities such as sailing, which is a part of our national heritage. Children with special needs need to be tested and supported. If they are in the schools and they cannot keep up, the children need to be looked after. The education department used to provide in-house psychologists. There were many of them. I worked for them. There were 6 of them. If they're no longer there, then we need to replace that resource. Parents are paying upwards of $3,000 for one visit to a doctor to a psychologist in order for their children to be tested. This is an additional expense on parents that was provided by the government previously. Immigration would be my number 2 factor. There needs to be immigration reform. There are too many loopholes that are being exploited on a daily basis, whether it's by persons who are holding those work permits or whether it's by employers. Employers, in terms of our Caymanian people, continue to move the goalpost. Our children, our Caymanians who are overseas, are unable to get jobs. In June 2024, our population was found to be at 80,000 people. Out of that number, 54% were expats, locals, 45%. We have 40,000 work permits. Our people, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Whitelock. Ms. Thomas?
First, I'd like to say that the Cayman Islands National Party intends to address all national issues when elected. But the 3 issues I'm going to mention tonight are key and dear to me. First, I will focus on government cost accountability and transparency. For too long, every year, the numbers that we spend don't add up. The Auditor General has said we spend $2 for every one we make, yet we have no insight as to how that is spent and where we are. So government cost accountability and transparency is important. It's not just about reducing the possible corruption in our government. It's about building back public trust, increasing accountability of the people that work in government, and enhancing the controls that are in place. We need solutions that ensure that there's a transparent, effective, responsible government that truly serves the needs of the people. We can do this by implementing digital transparency online platforms where government documents, policies, budgets, and reports are accessible online. And we involve the public and public access to government budgets. Transparency is the focus. Secondly, I would also second, education is important. We have failed our children. We have 16 schools rating standards of 4 good and 12 fair or acceptable levels. We need to implement stronger accountability and accountability and governance in our schools with strong support for teachers and students of those schools. I believe a comprehensive overhaul is needed to introduce early development programs that modernize the curriculum and include TVET, technical and vocational training. Early development is also key. But most of all, it makes no sense to implement any of these programs if we do not implement accountability at a board level. Our party would propose that we implement a board over each of the 16 schools so that we have oversight and not just passing the buck and passing the students year after year.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Mr. Gold?
Thank you for the question. One of the national issues I would seek to address is immigration. We all know immigration is a problem, and a lot of the other issues that we suffer from are a result of poor immigration policies. When elected, I will advocate for status grants only to be given by marriage or descent. All forms of status grants, including naturalization, should be revocable. Permanent residency should be granted rather than status. In regard to work permits, we already have a strong immigration law in place, but the problem is they're not being enforced. Too many people are coming to this country on work permits without actually having a job. The other issue that I would like to address, which everyone has been speaking of recently, is cost of living. We all know that high demand for housing, goods, and services will naturally drive the cost up. As our population increases, so will the cost of living. In March of 2024, I traveled to Panama with the Chamber of Commerce to explore the possibilities of opening this trade route. Panama, Jamaica, and Mexico should be considered as sustainable and more affordable sources of food for Cayman. We need to cut back on reliance on U.S. imported foods. This could offer us direct savings, drive down grocery store prices, and offer healthier options for local consumers. We also need to consider sourcing our fuel from other countries, as it's the largest impact on our utility bills. Education, reform, and social well-being. Over the last few weeks, I've sat with educators and I've listened to their concerns. I believe that the STEM system should be included in the curriculum, and we need to prepare the youth for vocational training from middle school age. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gold. Mr. Tatum, we'll start with you for the third question, and the next 3 questions will cover our pillar of advancing quality of life. Hurley's roundabout is one of the main choke and pain points for traffic. What recommendations would you propose to enhance traffic flow and improve safety at this crucial intersection?
I live very close to the Hurley's roundabout. I shop at Hurley's. I quite often feel like I'm taking my life in my hands, leaving and trying to go through 2 lanes into the 3rd lane. That roundabout is one that needs traffic lights on them. I recall that prior to, at one point, the road coming from South Sound entering that roundabout had a traffic light on. It's still there, it's not being used. It was very effective when that was being used to allow a break in the traffic and therefore allow cars to enter. That is necessary for that roundabout. There may be other things that may be needed. I know it was proposed that cars leaving that roundabout, leaving Hurley's, should go left and go around another roundabout and come back up. That was opposed. I wasn't particularly keen on it myself, but we may end up having to do that. But traffic lights should be the first thing that's implemented there to allow a smoother flow of traffic and to make it safer.
Thank you, Mr. Tatum. Ms. Whitelock?
Thank you for the question. I also agree with Mr. Tatum. There should be stoplights placed at that roundabout. I don't see any other alternative to there being to people getting around it. We have people coming from town, people coming from Hurley's, people coming from Grand Harbor behind Hurley's, and we also have people coming from South Sound, all trying to get around that roundabout to make it to the eastern districts. I also have experienced many times where you get in the middle of the roundabout and you have to stop because someone's coming around it awfully fast. So next to putting stoplights in there, next to putting speed bumps in the middle of the roundabout to slow cars down, the only thing we can do is put in stoplights and try to facilitate people better that way.
Thank you, Ms. Whitelock. Ms. Thomas?
Thank you. I agree with everyone, what they've said. The Hurley's Roundabout is one of the main choke and pain points of traffic. And whilst it is a choke point, addressing the single point will not improve overall traffic flow in Cayman. The vehicle imports are continuing to rise due to rising populations. We have delayed infrastructure projects, and as simple things as some of the other candidates have mentioned, leading to safety concerns, as we've mentioned, which is increased, all leading to insufficient public transport. Ultimately, in order to fix traffic on a whole, we have to implement better public transportation system. You have to have a mandatory bus service for all primary schools and secondary schools, public and private. We have to develop and implement the master ground transportation plan that we talked about some years ago and that we haven't done anything with. We have to perhaps look at who holds a vehicle, who can purchase a vehicle in the Cayman Islands. Perhaps people on temporary work permits should no longer be allowed to purchase vehicles on their arrival. Maybe it's only given to permanent work permit holders or others. The Hurley's Roundabout choke point is one of many. We have a rising traffic problem, and dealing with one choke point is not going to fix the overall problem. I think we have to look holistically. I think many governments before are looking very much at Band-Aid fixes at one area when we should be looking at the complete problem and as it affects everyone. Because if you solve the Hurley's Roundabout problem, you then have to go and look up to where the people are traveling east, because the next problem is the congestion that happens at the Countryside Junction. So traffic on a whole has to be solved across the board. It must be a holistic plan, not a Band-Aid solution.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Mr. Gold?
Thank you for the question. I beg to differ about traffic lights at that roundabout. We already have an issue with traffic being slow around there, and I don't think a traffic light would be the proper solution. Actually, the NRA has already started work on a alternative route which would cut across the front of Hurley's, and it will come up towards the King's Gym. If you drive by there, you'll see the work has already begun. I think what we need to do is just give the NRA some time to complete this work that they have already started. And when I'm elected, I will advocate for this road to be open within 6 months of entering office. The work has already begun. We don't need any more stoplights. That's going to create more traffic. One of the things I see as an issue at Selkirk Drive is we have a lot of nannies coming in the mornings and leaving in the afternoons. There is not a pedestrian crossing there for the bus stop. I don't believe we should put up pedestrian crossing on the road surface. I believe we need to make a overpass for pedestrians to walk over the road, which will allow the traffic to continue and flow without hindering it from moving. So that's the suggestion I have for that issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gold. Mr. Ebanks?
Certainly, thank you. Certainly the issue and provision of traffic lights as a short-term solution is a good route. It will enhance safety, even if it may not necessarily speed traffic up. As we know, traffic lights do one thing for us. As we approach a traffic light, it eases the stress, because at that juncture, we know that our opportunity to go is going to come. So from that perspective, I do think that a temporary measure would be to have the traffic lights so that you can have fair opportunities at the junctions, improve safety. But of course, also Mr. Gold is absolutely right that the long-term solution has got to be more than just about the traffic lights. We've got to look at the long-term solution of how those two junctions, both the Hurley's Junction and the adjoining junction down towards the the other junction down past Hurley's, because those two junctions, as they are fixed and operate together, they will make a significant difference, I'm sure. Longer term, we do need to look in more detail at the bigger problem with traffic and traffic control. Public transport is one of those things that we're going to have to look at. Also, as we look towards the road that's going to the east, we're going to be which is going to be developed. That will ease some of that traffic congestion and ease some of the natural choke effect that is happening on the main road. Also, I would say that when we do go to the east, when we do put in the road to the east, we need to think in terms of the community that's going to be developed in that area, in order that we're not only just putting in roads, but we're encouraging communities to develop in that area, so that in the case of all the traffic that's coming from the east towards town, which is causing the bigger part of the choke effect, there will be an opportunity for businesses to go in those areas, and for vehicle traffic, which was normally coming into town, to perhaps not have to go that far. They will be able to get their business done on that side of the island. As far as Red Bay is concerned, Red Bay may also benefit in terms of being able to turn left. And there we go, we would be easing the choke situation again.
Thank you, Mr. Ebanks.
Ms. Whitelock, question 4, we'll start with you. Would you support a review of customs duties to lower the cost of living by reducing duties on essential items and offsetting revenue with increases on others to offset the lost revenue? If so, which items would you adjust?
Thank you for the question. My team and I would certainly support the review of customs duties. We find often that there are items that are brought into the island that families need on a daily basis, such as sanitary items for ladies, stuff for babies, etc., that are brought in, and those items are heavily taxed. We do believe that we should be able to give some concessions on those items. And it may come down to simply store owners looking into where to get those items at a cheaper rate, so that in addition to those lower concessions, that they can offer them to the public for cheaper fees. We also have to be careful at home how we are using our items, because I think we've all become a society sometimes where we tend to use things just because we have them. I think we all need to try to be more mindful of what we have and try to live within what are the confines of what we have at home. But definitely, I think we should milk, cheese, the normal items, bread, those sorts of items, flour, those are all items that should be duty-free.
Thank you, Ms. Whitelock. Ms. Thomas?
Yes, I would say that I support the review of custom duties to lower the cost of living on essential items. And I think I'd start with making healthier foods cheaper, so that you can go to the store and buy healthier items for free with reduced duties. The reason for that is because I think it will promote eating healthy, which might in turn help us with our healthcare issues, which is constantly rising. I would also offset that in terms of revenue. There's a number of ways we can look at that. I mean, there is a number of factors around I don't know when the tariffs were last, the complete chart of duties were actually last reviewed. I think it's time that we sit and review and we have a plan on how we do things. But remembering that when we cut duties on one item, we have to look at where we're going to get the revenue from. It has to be systematically looked at in a holistic picture. As you will know, that I'll be talking tonight from a very strategic level, because I think it's very short-sighted to be focusing on very specific items. I do agree with Ms. Whitelock that we do need to focus on the needs of the seniors and some items that are needed in household items like diapers and stuff that we've talked about. There are items that are duty-free, cheese, milk already. But for some reason, because the cost of shipping is so high, that people don't actually see the benefits of those duty-free items. So we do have to look at the entire tariff system, That it's not the duties that might be driving up the cost of goods, but it's actually the shipment involved in getting those goods here. So overall, I think we should look at where are we getting the goods from and finding cheaper locations to purchase those items, bringing them in at the same duty rate, ultimately improving the cost of those items.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Mr. Gold?
Thank you for the question. Yes, I would definitely support a review of the customs duties. I think we could reduce duties on healthier food as suggested by my colleagues, and we could possibly offset that by increasing the duties on processed foods and unhealthy foods that are being imported into this country. Our country is suffering right now from obesity, diabetes, and all sorts of other health ailments. If we increase the duties on these unhealthy foods that we're feeding our population, that will generate revenue for the government. And at the same time, it would encourage consumers to live a healthier lifestyle and eat healthier. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gold. Mr. Ebanks?
Thank you. Having additional tariffs considered in respect to essentials is an important aspect of what needs to be done. Certainly, I support the review of tariffs. However, we would note that under the current tariff system, most of the essentials are already tariff-free. So we need to be careful and thoughtful about what else we would make tariff-free, because clearly the issue of tariffs is one of the ways that government is able to raise revenue. That said, I do think that there's a good position to look at perhaps having higher tariffs on the foods that are processed and not so healthy for you, because in that sense, as Mr. Gold has indicated, we potentially have the long-term benefit of supporting our own health, and in that way, certainly that's probably the biggest savings that we could have, is to have a healthier life, less bills, less stress on the healthcare system. So certainly that is a point which is certainly worth reviewing. But the overall process of reviewing the whole tariff provisions at this point in time is certainly one of those items that I support strongly.
Thank you, Mr. Ebanks. Mr. Tatum?
Thank you for the question. I do agree that if there are the possibility for us to reduce the tariff or the import duty on some foodstuffs, we should. Certainly, I recall looking at this some time back, and there are still some fruits and vegetables and meat products that have duties on them still, and they should be removed. There should be in my view, no duty on any food products. The idea of having higher duty on unhealthy and processed foods is, I think, one that should be considered. But the downside is that these are often the foods that some of the poorest of our people eat. So we need to be careful that we're not causing them issues. The other thing we could reduce, fuel. There is still, the previous PPM governments reduced the fuel, the import duty on fuels down to, I think it's 25 cents now. There is no reason why we can't reduce that to zero, if only temporarily, until such time as the cost of living was eased. But fuel is another one. And one I feel strongly about is medicine. There should be no medicines coming into this country that we're charging import duty on. I have family that have to take some extremely expensive medicines. And when I looked at the cost of them from one provider who had the ability to pay less duty on importing them compared to another hospital, the difference was vast. So we need to reduce the import duty on all medicines. Shipping, you're right, shipping cost is extremely high. That is a whole other conversation altogether in terms of how we're going to reduce shipping costs. And I believe, Leon, if we had the ability to import cheaper foods from Panama and Jamaica, it would have already started happening. The reason it hasn't happened because the ships that leave from there are very large and can't come into our port here. So to wind up, yes, I believe we need to look at reducing duty on goods, on food products to alleviate some of the problems that we have.
Well, thank you, candidates. We've gone through the first four questions. We have another round of questions coming up. We're going to take a short commercial break. Please stay tuned.
EV public charging can be a bit tricky to navigate if you're new to the game. But fear not. Here's a little 101 on all things public charging at your CUC charge station. The first tip is to get the mobile app up and ready on your phone before you charge your EV at the charging location. You can scan the QR code to load the app from sitting in your car. Download the mobile app, register a charge account, load money into your charge wallet. You must have a minimum of US $5 balance in your charge wallet to begin a charging session. Scan the QR code again to start a charging session using this charger. You can also enter the station ID number into the app. Follow the instructions on the mobile app to initiate your charging session. Now you're ready to charge your EV. Select either the right or the left charge plug. Plug your car in and make sure it shows as charging on your dashboard. Charging for 1 hour will give you up to 35 miles of charge. Charging to 80% optimizes battery life and reduces the risk of overcharging. So in that time, you can shop or go to work or chat with fellow EV owners. It's a real community out there. Great to see you, Maya. Happy charging, everyone. See you on the road.
When you run your own business, you have a career as an accountant, stock taker, delivery driver, therapist, legal expert, mother, father, and the rest. But there's one area you don't need to be an expert in. At Brava, we take the complexity out of your business solutions. We keep it simple, so you can get along with doing what you do. Brava, the Simplify My Business company.
Welcome back to the Chamber of Commerce Candidates Forum for the constituency of Red Bay. We've gone through the first four questions. Now the fifth question is going to be dealing with healthcare, and I'll turn it over to Chamber President Omari Corbin.
Thanks, Will. Ms. Thomas will start with you for question number 5, which is also the last question on our pillar of advancing the quality of life. What solutions do you propose to make healthcare more affordable and more accessible?
Caymanians deserve proper health care. Access to health care and comprehensive health insurance coverage is far too expensive for many Caymanians. We have a number of issues regarding health that are happening in this country. Obesity is approximately 70% of the population. We have mental health issues, affects about 20% of the residents. We have the access to healthcare. While the Cayman Islands boast the most modern healthcare facilities in the world, treatments can be very, very expensive, and serious cases are often transferred to overseas. The cost of healthcare is unsustainable. First, let's start by developing alternative insurance solutions for the Cayman Islands health insurance, including by tapping into national captive insurance companies to pool the Cayman Islands risk, to stabilize premiums and costs, and monitor such by negotiating bills in line. Let's split the public health from HSA offering preventative care at a cheaper rate. Obviously, running a hospital costs much more money. Increase and improve mental health assessment and processes and treatments. At the end of the day, if we don't have affordable health care, the cost is obviously going to be borne by the government, because we have a responsibility to everyone to provide access to health care. The Cayman Islands National Party will ensure that Caymans can access quality health care when they need it most.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Mr. Gold.
Thank you for the question. I think that, actually I support the recently passed motion which suggests that we provide free health care for our senior citizens and for our children. And one of the ways that I think we can fund this initiative is, if approved in the upcoming referendum, the national lottery, if it's approved, we can use funding from that to provide free health care for all children and our senior citizens that have worked so hard to bring this country to what it is. The next thing I would suggest in regard to health care and making it more affordable is that we need to regulate health care providers. It's not health insurance that's the issue. These health care providers are overcharging their patients. I have a relative that went to the hospital recently, spent 30 minutes in the hospital, and their insurance was billed $800. That is unacceptable. We need to regulate and create proper framework for healthcare providers. What they're doing to us is extortion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gold. Mr. Ebanks.
Thank you. As in many of the costs in Cayman, the lack of proper consumer protection laws are central to the delivery of the product at a reasonable price. I think that we need to focus on ensuring that we have proper consumer protection laws in Cayman, and in that way we're able to focus and ensure that every cost that is being incurred is properly incurred, and you don't get the sort of thing that Mr. Gold has just referred to, in the sense of price gouging and so on and so forth. Beyond that, we also perhaps need to look regionally at other sources of overseas expenditure in terms of hospitals and so on in the region where necessary, that we could use in some cases, because certainly the cost locally of hospitalization is extreme. It is true that we do need to do more to control the cost. Opening Cineco and expanding Cineco, I think, could help us, because that therein would lie a larger pool of individuals who are contributing in the same system, and therefore that may be a way of government being able to put some measure of some lid on the whole aspect of how much insurance costs. It is a complex subject. There are a number of issues. We need to review it. We need to be careful with it to ensure that at the end of the day, we don't suffer because we have not really thought it through. And as a result of that, the actual good quality health care that is here is no longer here because of not having looked at the whole issue of pricing carefully and having done any kind of law which results in healthcare providers who are here moving away because it's no longer tenable here. It is good that we review it. We have to be careful with it. We need to be thoughtful about the process. It is something that we need. I have also advocated for free health care for persons over 65. I think that at some juncture, the government and the country needs to provide free health care to those who have served in the country.
Thank you, Mr. Ebanks. Mr. Tatum.
Thank you for the question. I help to take care, my wife and I help to care for an elderly aunt, 89 years old. She has no child, husband, no one else. So I know firsthand, I've experienced this firsthand, the cost of our healthcare. And I will say that one of the things I mentioned earlier on that we do need to make sure we do is to reduce or remove the energy import duties on medicines. That would help tremendously in terms of some of the medicines that she has to use. The other thing I would say is that our healthcare and our healthcare system needs a full reform, and that's one of the things that the PPM government, should we win the government after the election, will be doing. The health insurance and the pensions regimes are looming issues for us, huge issues. We have people living longer, outgrowing pensions, but also having severe medical issues. Dementia is an increasing issue. We have to deal with these things. We can't put them under the rug. So I also agree that the children, and these are proposals that we will actually do. We will allow children once again to have free, Caymanian children to have free medical care in schools, and also for the elderly to have the ability to access improved health care at much reduced cost than is currently available. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tatum. Ms. Whitelock?
Thank you so much for the question. Healthcare insurance is something that is very near and dear to my heart. The cost of medication is something that is also very near and dear to my heart. I do have a child that has seizures, and he is on medication for the rest of his life since he was 9 years old. He's now 29. His medications, one of them alone, is $100 for a bottle of 30 pills. We need to do something in this country to help families to be able to afford medication, to afford health care. We now have several very good hospitals on this island, including a full-scale cancer ward. There's no reason why we need to send people away anymore. Our people can stay here and get very good medication. They can stay here and get very good care. I just had an aunt who was diagnosed with cancer. She came to Cayman, and at the Cayman Islands Hospital, at the HSA, they were able to give her the attention that she needed. She's now going to Health City to get radiation treatment. She was told that she had to go overseas. For health insurance and for us to fully look at that, we need data. We have a 9% rate of medical inflation, the costs. This means that loss ratios are high. If you're increasing premiums by 9% on average every year, and that's base rate, such as the SHIC programs and everything else. What this means essentially is that your claims are high, your company claims are high. The question then becomes, though, where is this money going? Is it really the government's fault? Is it really the fact that we need to look at how much is being mandated that insurance companies has to pay? At the end of the day, where is the money going? Another thing that we need to look at, and Mr. Roy mentioned, was pensions. Our people are being made to quit far too early. People are able to continue to work well into their ripe old age. My mom's 70 years old, and she's been forced into retirement. Those people can continue to work and contribute and do what's needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Whitelock.
Mr. Gold, question 6 will start with you. The Immigration White Paper recommends improving long-term workforce planning. Would you support the development of a national human capital plan as one method of linking the employment needs of the country with education and training infrastructure?
Thank you for the question. Yes, I would support that initiative. And after looking at the white paper, one of the things I believe the government needs to work on is to make the civil service 100% Cayman staffed. We can start by setting aside positions and careers for returning students, graduates, and students, Caymanian students, that receive scholarships. So yes, I would support the development of a national human capital plan so that we can link the employment needs of the country with education and training infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gold. Mr. Ebanks?
Thank you. The National Human Capital Plan being linked to employment of the country with education and training infrastructure obviously is a sound idea. Beyond that, of course, I think that one of the issues that we need to make sure that happens is that the regime that government has for hiring of individuals is also brought within that provision to ensure not only the private sector is having to deal with this linking, but also that the public sector is as well. As we are today, the hiring within government is really dictated at a managerial level. There's no oversight beyond that to ensure that the individuals who are being employed have any kind of oversight over them in terms of how long they remain in the employment of government, or whether they have to continue or be removed when there is a Caymanian who can take that position up. That is an issue for us. We need transparency on both ends of the spectrum. We need to ensure that transparency exists both in the private sector in terms of the immigration law, but also to ensure that like transparency exists on public service hirings. I think we need to make sure that both of those things are done in order to ensure fair opportunities for Caymanians, particularly those returning from abroad, whether as a student or having gained experience in another country and now wanting to return. We need to make sure that we have equity and transparency.
Thank you, Mr. Ebanks. Mr. Tatum?
Thank you for the question. I certainly do believe that the development of a national human capital plan is important. When WORC work was created, the WO part of that is workforce opportunities. And that section of government, that department of government, wasn't just to be looking at the residency aspects of it, but was also supposed to be looking at what jobs Cayman needs and working with the private sector and working with the education system to suss out where are the jobs of the future coming, and to try to make sure that our education system was meeting the needs of those jobs, and probably also our scholarships. So yes, that is something I think needs to happen, and needs to happen quickly. Phil mentioned public service employment. A large number over the last 4 years, too large a number of the individuals being hired within the civil service are expatriates. We need to work to make sure that that is rebalanced and that there is space made available within the civil service as it grows, if it needs to grow, so that Caymanians can fill those jobs. There is no need in the civil service for us to be growing more expatriates within the civil service than we are growing Caymanians. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tatum. Ms. Whitelock?
Thank you. I too would agree with the white paper and their need for a national human capital plan and the need for education and training infrastructure to be placed within that regime. At present, the government employees do not get a rollover period. They continue to stay in positions that should be earmarked for our Caymanian children. Too many times we see Caymanians being sent overseas, whether be it by the government or whether be it by their parents, another company, and these children are out there, they get their education and they try to come home and they can't. Just yesterday I was speaking with a lady who told me that her daughter had gone away. The government had actually paid for her to go away to college. And when she was ready to come home, she was told, "You have no experience." That's unacceptable. Our children should be brought home. Our Caymanians need to be brought home and put in these positions. Not necessarily do they need to go to the top of the food chain at once, but they definitely need to be brought home and then interned, and those expatriates should have to train our children. Whether it's 6 months, a year, 2 years, it doesn't matter. They're our children. There's too many of us out there that are just in the wilderness called other countries and not in our own home. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Whitelock. Ms. Thomas?
Yes, I fully support the development of a national human capital plan, and that long-term planning is definitely required. But let's face it, none of the previous governments have really focused on long-term planning, which is why we're sitting here today still discussing it. It is very, very important that we provide adequate opportunities for Caymanians. Caymanians that should have the opportunity to thrive in their own economy. And this needs to become a reality, not just a promise. We actually have to see some action from the new government. I realize there's a need to strike a balance between welcoming workers here and ensuring that Caymanians are prioritized. But let's face it, we failed our students in schools by not properly preparing them for the workforce. So our education system has failed the kids that are leaving schools, therefore pushing that burden onto organizations to provide adequate training and hiring, which leaves them with lack of opportunity. So I want to introduce a higher level of accountability for organizations to hire and train Caymanians, and also improve our schools that they're producing ready workforce, ready students. It is going to be a combination between our job opportunities that are coming available with the immigration system and pairing fully trained Caymanians, and where we have deficiencies in those Caymanians, we need to address it nationally, and we need to put programs in place to address those issues. We can no longer kick the can down the road. We have to have a proper plan, long-term planning, where every able-bodied Caymanian that is willing to work can find a job and improve their quality of life. They deserve it. It is what we are here for, and it is what we should do. So let's stop talking about it. Let's get it done.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas.
Mr. Ebanks, we'll start with you for question number 7, which is our last question on our pillar of building a future-ready workforce. How will you work with the private sector to prioritize local talent development and create opportunities for Caymanians to advance into leadership roles?
Yes, for a long time we've been talking about succession planning in the public sector. It has never taken root. It has never gone forward. We need to have the will to go forward with this on both the private sector level as well as in the public sector, to ensure that Caymanians do get into the workplace and that there is a succession-based approach in order to ensure that as Caymanians become available, as they are trained up, they can take on these positions. It's a matter of will. I think the law and infrastructure is already there. The priority is already set by the law. It is set that the interest of the Caymanian in terms of work opportunity must be protected on the one hand, and also that we should make sure that we continue to ensure that there's a work-ready force for the private sector. So the two arms of this thing are already there. And how we approach it and ensure that there is a real emphasis on ensuring the local talent development is one which we have to concentrate on. There's been a suggestion that we should have a protection board of sorts to have better oversight of that particular aspect of ensuring that we prioritize local talent development and create the opportunities for Caymanians. However, beyond that, clearly there's the issue of the systems that we now have in place. Some of those systems do not speak to each other. We have the business staffing plan, we have the work permit board, we have the labor board that deals with issues of who is out of work, and none of those systems apparently talk to each other, and therefore, as a result of that, the opportunities for Caymanians within the existing system is lost. We need to make sure that those systems are cohesive and developed so that they talk to each other, and then use the oversight process of a Caymanian Protection Board as such to look at that and keep tabs on that to ensure that we do advance Caymanians into leadership roles.
Thank you, Mr. Ebanks. Mr. Tatum?
Thank you for the question. I I agree with a lot of what's been said so far. I actually find that seems that businesses today, I can't say all, but some, don't understand the need to train Caymanians. I recall in my younger years, when I got into banking, training was something that banks understood was necessary. The Bankers Association had training programs. The Chamber has, they still do, I believe. But training and providing real opportunities for Caymanians is necessary and needs to be put in place again. The education system needs to really work harder at creating work-ready Caymanians for the jobs that are available today. And the internship programs are one type of program that we will put into place. Businesses need to accept more young people as interns to understudy folks who are there now. We cannot continue down the path that we're going, where our kids go off to school, get educated, come back home, and are told that they don't have experience, so they can't get jobs. We need to change that, and the private sector and the public sector need to have serious discussions about how we can get that to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tatum. Ms. Whitelock?
Thank you. There is a program here. I'm not sure if everybody knows about it, but it's the CIFEC program. It's the final year of high school. And the ladies and gentlemen that work at the CIFEC department school has been doing a heck of a job with our kids. I worked with that program from 2009, and I still continue to work with that program to this day at my current place of work. And when I worked with the children there, I found that our kids do want to work. They do want to learn. They do want to progress. Each year at the law firm, we would take in 16 children and we'd scatter them around to different departments. And some did well, some had to change. But at the end of the day, when I walked away from the law firm 4 years ago, I left a department that was fully staffed by our Caymanian children, the intellectual property department. And today, they are still there, headed up by 2 other expats. The work department has what is called the BSP. In the BSP, there's a bursary which provides for every single company with over 15 employees to spend on training for their Caymanians. And what I will say to any Caymanian that's watching this right now, if you are not being trained by your company, the money is there. They can spend it. They should spend it. And if they're not, you need to speak up. The work departments and the job does a very good job of manning jobs KY. They vet applications, and trust me, they do follow up. And, I just feel that department needs to have more support from our government. They need to have more processes and procedures in place. There's other ways of manning that department and what happens there, because employers do change the goalposts. Adverts are made specifically for expats because that's the preferred choice. We need to do more for our people.
Thank you, Ms. Whitelock.
Thank you.
Ms. Thomas?
Thank you very much. I think this is a very important initiative. I believe that because the financial services sector is 50% of the government's revenue, why don't we work with the financial services sector to come up with a development program that focuses on training and preparing our students for the financial services sector day one? Why do we have to wait until they leave school to come out to attempt to get a job that they're inadequate for and they're being told that they're underqualified for? We can put a program in place day one that students in school, in high school, are starting to prepare for jobs that is offered within the financial services sector. Corporate services, as an example, accounting clerks, these are all things that they can be trained on in advance before leaving schools. We can harness and develop them prior to graduation. So we should implement new training programs, and I think we should focus on the financial services sector. I also think that we need to hold organizations accountable in the financial services sector to the RERC program that was implemented, because I've seen it firsthand many, many times as well, where the Caymanian, once they acquired the skills and are ready to take the job, they sideline the expat to another role, and then the Caymanian assumes the role. I think that once Caymanian has been identified and is able then to fill that position, that person should leave the island. They should not be sidelined into another role, higher up usually than the Caymanian that was their RERC. Again, I'd like to stress, in walking the Red Bay constituency, I want to also address the fact that there are many unemployed, skilled people in the Red Bay community. These are people that are struggling to find job opportunities, and they have been in the work program, and they've attempted to apply for many, many, many jobs. There is an accountant in Red Bay that he's 31 years old, and he's applied 36 times for a job. This is unacceptable. I think we need to hold the financial services sector and other companies as well, not just accountable for ensuring that Caymanians are employed. Sorry.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Mr. Gold?
Thank you for the question. I think this is a regular occurrence where the private sector companies hire Caymanians and keep them at entry-level positions for times longer than necessary. And it needs to be nipped in the bud. One of the problems that happens is Caymanians enter, for example, the legal world. If they report these breaches of not developing Caymanians, they are blacklisted and they will not be able to find other jobs. So what we can start by is creating a safe space for people to report when these injustices happen. All too often, we hear of Caymanians working for 10, 15 years and they're not being promoted. I've seen it firsthand. I've seen people jump from job to job because they have not been promoted as they should. And they're good workers, Caymanians. But these companies that are foreign managed, and we have allowed these foreign managers to bring in their own people, keep Caymanians down and stifle us from growing the way we should in our own country. So with that said, I believe we need to start penalizing these companies when they go in breach of these issues. Block them from getting more work permits if we have to. But we need to penalize them for not promoting Caymanians and make it serious. Send the message home that we will be putting Caymanians at the top and at the front of everything that this country has to offer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gold.
Mr. Tatum, question 8, we'll start with you. How would you ensure that by attracting foreign investment, we ensure that Caymanians directly benefit from economic growth?
Please repeat the question.
How would you ensure that by attracting foreign investment, we ensure that Caymanians directly benefit from economic growth?
Thank you for that. First of all, the reason why we want to attract economic investment is to grow our economy. There's no other reason to do so. So therefore, it's important that we ensure that while our economy is growing, Caymanians have the opportunity to do so. We need to make sure that our education system is meeting the needs of the jobs that are available. But we also need to make sure that as businesses grow and develop here, that they understand that they need to look at hiring Caymanians and training Caymanians and creating real opportunities for Caymanians to get the jobs and to grow in, and to get the jobs and to achieve success in our own country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tatum. Ms. Whitelock?
Yes. I also agree that we would like to have foreign investment here. We are, we're a giving people. We're a laid-back people. We're an honest people. And we accept anyone and everything pretty much into our country. But when we get to that point that when we allow someone into our country that they're not embracing our ideals and our way of life, and they're not giving back to the Caymanian people in ways that they should, then there's definitely a problem. So yes, we do need to ensure that our Caymanians are educated from the ground up, from birth, from kindergarten, preschool, all the way through, to ensure that when the development does come in their chosen area, that they are ready and waiting to take the bull by the horns and step into those positions. And whether this means that we have to look at probably putting in place further, policies and procedures for the companies to give additional monies for students to go overseas so that they can be ready when succession plan is needed. But we have to make sure we do what we have to do for our Caymanian people. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Whitelock. Ms. Thomas?
Foreign investment has been vital over the years to the Cayman Islands. But let's be fair and let's be honest. We have given concessions for a lot of large development properties to be here in the hopes that it trickle down and actually benefits the Caymanian people. And whilst the economy seems to have grown, the Caymanians have not benefited from this growth. So, what has it led to? Increased imported labor, reduced opportunities for our Caymanians, and a number of other social and economic issues. Traffic, cost of living increases. It is even as much as contributed to the inequality and contributed to poverty, because Caymanians are sometimes feeling marginalized in their own country. So, I think that going forward, we should look at ways to ensure that that investment into Cayman directly benefits the Caymanians by having them contribute to affordable housing, scholarship funds, and other initiatives that will directly go to the Caymanian people.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Mr. Gold?
Thank you for the question. I think, foreign investors should be embraced as long as they contribute to the economy of Cayman. Because, believe it or not, it does have a trickle-down effect. For example, when a foreign investor builds homes or schools, our children benefit, construction workers benefit, gas stations benefit, transportation services benefit, the supermarkets benefit. So I think we should embrace foreign investors as long as they contribute to the economy of Cayman and they do their very best to ensure that Caymanians get some of the fruits of this investment. Back in the 70s and 80s, Cayman was in a desolate kind of state, and we needed to stimulate the economy. So we had to attract, and we tried everything in our power to attract foreign investors. I think we are past that stage now, and we can slow down on trying to attract them because we have quite a few. I would say there's enough foreign investors here on the island, and a lot of them do contribute to Cayman and to Caymanians, and some of them genuinely love Cayman, and this is their home, so we have to embrace them as long as they're doing it with good intentions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gold. Mr. Ebanks?
Yes. Let's first of all say that most foreign investment does generally have a positive impact here on the island, in the sense that as people come in and invest here in the island, it does create jobs. Do we get the full benefit or as much benefit as we should get from it? Well, that can be questionable. One of the things that we have to bear in mind is the local company control licensing process, whereby an investor can come into the country and he can ask for a concession to ensure that he can solely alone develop a particular project. And if he can make that case to the local company control licensing board, then he can effectively get the license to develop 100% of a particular project. We need to be careful with that because I think that the whole aspect of the local company control licensing law was to ensure that it was only to be used for those particular projects whereby you would be creating a large development, for example, a hotel, whereby it would have the trickle-down effects that the individuals who are Caymanians would then be able to get an opportunity to work within that hotel, and the longer-term benefit would thereby accrue. However, in some cases I've seen where the local investor comes in and builds, say, one single house, and it's a massive house, and I've seen where the local company control licensing can be granted in those circumstances. Clearly, it's not the same benefit, not the same trickle-down benefit. I think that we need to make sure that for this to work properly, that we do insist on things that if the investor is coming in, he might be the developer, but he can't be the contractor as well, because by being both the developer and the contractor, he effectively is able to keep the full benefit of the investment in terms of profits and so on, and that doesn't give you the same trickle-down effect as when you keep the system separate.
Thank you, Mr. Ebanks.
Well, thank you, candidates. We've gone through 8 questions. We're going to take a short commercial break, and when we come back, we'll be discussing infrastructure priorities. Please stay tuned.
At CUC, we care about helping our customers. Here are some quick energy-saving tips from CUC, so you can use less energy and save money. Set your AC Smart thermostat to maintain an indoor temperature of 87 degrees Fahrenheit or higher when you are away from home, and have the temperature cool to a comfortable 78 degrees Fahrenheit or higher when you arrive home. Adding insulation can cut your cooling costs by 15 to 45%, depending on your home's size and current insulation. Focus on insulating your attic, walls, and windows for the best results. For your laundry, avoid over-drying clothes. Not only does it waste energy, but it also harms fabrics. Dry towels and heavier cottons separately from lighter weight fabrics to save energy. Your TV and gaming setup can be big energy consumers. Save costs by reducing in-game settings and turning off your console when not in use. Remember, every small step counts. Use energy wisely and make a big difference in your energy bills and the environment.
When you run your own business, you have a career as an accountant, stock taker, delivery driver, therapist, legal expert, mother, father, and the rest. But there's one area you don't need to be an expert in. At Brava, we take the complexity out of your business solutions. We keep it simple, so you can get along with doing what you do. Brava, the Simplify My Business company. When you run your own business, you have a career as an accountant, stock taker, delivery driver, therapist, legal expert, mother, father, and the rest. But there's one area you don't need to be an expert in. At Brava, we take the complexity out of your business solutions. We keep it simple, so you can get along with doing what you do. Brava, the Simplify My Business company.
Why is my bill higher? These days, it might seem like the cost of everything is going up here in Cayman. When it comes to your energy bill, this may be no exception. You may be wondering why your bill is higher when you haven't done anything different in your home. Here are some common factors that will increase your energy usage. As temperatures outside increase, your air conditioning unit has to run longer to keep your house cool, even if you haven't adjusted the thermostat. During the summer months, cooling your home can make up more than half of your energy bill. It's important to maintain your AC so that it can function as efficiently as possible. Changing your AC filters can also help with ensuring units are functioning properly. Remember, for every degree you turn up your thermostat, you can save on your monthly energy cost. Turn off your AC when no one is home. Thermostat should not be set any lower than 78 degrees. Also consider closing blinds and drapes on the sunny side of your home. This will help reduce the temperature inside your home. Remember to consider energy waste. Think about the items in your home that are using energy, like gaming computers and ceiling fans. Always unplug and turn these items off when they are not in use or needed. This will help you conserve. Now that you have some energy saving tips, you can track your consumption daily on MyCUC. Learn more at www.cuc-cayman.com.
Welcome back to the Chamber of Commerce Candidates Forums for the constituency of Red Bay. Gone through 8 questions so far. Now we're going to stay on the Chamber pillar for sustaining economic success. And now we're going to deal with infrastructure priorities. I turn it back over to President Omari Corbin.
Thanks, Will. Ms. Whitelock, we'll start with you for question number 9. Several infrastructure projects in Grand Cayman have been identified by candidates during the election campaign as priority projects, including the East-West Arterial Road, the Georgetown landfill remediation, new schools, beach nourishment along 7 Mile Beach, construction of a cruise pier, and the upgrade of the cargo dock. Which of these projects would you support as the top priority? And specifically, how would you fund it?
That's a very good question, Omari. Thank you so much. One that I probably didn't prepare for as well. However, I would say that the 3 things that really need attention is the landfill. The East-West Arterial is very, very important. And I would also say that the revamp of the port. Those are 3 very important projects. We have money. The government has money. We're just putting it all in the wrong places. We are overspending on some of our projects, and there needs to be savings needs to be realized so that the money can be pumped into these very important projects. The port, for one, I grew up on that port. It was my playground. My father worked there. I've lost friends there. The East-West Arterial, I've had to wake up at 5:15 in the morning to drive from East End to come to town, to go to sleep for an hour, and then get up and go to work. As far as the dump is concerned, I grew up on Sound Road. That's where my family got my pet dog. I knew when it started, and I see what it is now. It's huge. It's looming. We need to take care of those problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Whitelock. Ms. Thomas?
Thank you very much. In looking at the list of initiatives discussed within the question, from my perspective, I think the 3 areas that I would focus on or that I would support as sort of top priority would be, 1, the road improvements on the East-West Arterial Highway. I think this will aid in traffic congestion as it relates to the eastern districts, and it is very much needed in terms of alleviating traffic concerns. One of our candidates in our team, she lives in East End. She spends 4 hours of her day, 3.5 to 4 hours a day in traffic every day. this is taking away from the quality of life that she has, and for all Eastenders that they have. I mean, to spend 4 hours out of your day in traffic, not many of us actually face that unless you're living in the eastern districts. So I would put that as one of my top priorities, because I think these people deserve some hours back in the day to spend with their families. Second, I think we need to focus on waste management, simply because with all this unplanned development or excessive development, it has put a strain on the natural, on the environment, and the wastage that's coming out of that is all these new hotels are going in, is adding to the dump. We'll keep building, but we keep forgetting that there's wastage coming from all of these facilities. Hotels, we're not only talking about garbage waste, we're also talking about feces. Let's face it as well, we have never properly introduced proper waste disposal. So I think it would be a key factor. The third one would be, for me, would be the beach erosion, because I think we just keep kicking the can down the road and we don't adequately focus on it. In terms of going back to going back to wastage, I think we need proper recycling programs need to be implemented as mandatory to also help with reducing the amount of waste. We have to have mandatory impact assessments as well done on all of the things that we're intending to do, and we need to also help, in order to reduce wastage, look at eco-friendly environments. Overall, we need sustainable policies that balance development and the environment.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Mr. Gold?
Thank you for the question. I agree with my opponents in that some of the main infrastructure projects that we should be focused on is the East-West Arterial. That's a road that is desperately needed. It will not only alleviate traffic and help with our traffic problems, but it's possible that it will unlock some land that we could be using to develop affordable homes for our Cayman. This would help with traffic during the rush hours. And I experience it. I sit in traffic every morning, and it takes me, sometimes 45 minutes to get from Hurley's to Walker's Road. So I live through it. I know what it is. It's a terrible thing because the kids have to get up from so early. It affects your quality of life. We also need to look at staggering our work hour schedule and encouraging work from home policies for government and private sector workers. Also, our public transport system needs to be improved. One of the ways I think we can improve our public transport and make it more efficient is by creating a dedicated bus lane or carpool lane. That way the buses will be on time. It will prevent people from needing a car because they can use the public transportation system. The landfill is an issue which has grown arms and legs, and is something we need to renegotiate. The regen project can be considered again, and the 7 Mile beach erosion is another large issue for us. In the short term, I think we can remove some of the seawalls and start by some beach replenishment. In the long term, I think we should prevent developments from being so close to the high water mark. So those are my 3 top issues on that infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Gold. Mr. Ebanks?
Thank you. Clearly, the renourishment program for the 7 Mile Beach is an important issue, as well as the landfill, as well as the Easterly Road that is to be built. Clearly, of those 3, I would have to say that I think that the landfill is perhaps the most urgent. By all accounts, it appears that we have 3 years left to run on the landfill. And given that fact and the significance that means to the island as a whole in terms of ensuring its security overall, ensuring that Cayman remains a place that people will want to continue to visit, I think that has got to be the top priority, despite it not being necessarily the most attractive one in the lot. I mean, I would prefer to have been able to choose the East-West Arterial, because clearly that would kill three birds in one stone, with one stone, so to speak. It would open new roads, it would open additional land for housing, which helps with that, and it would also help with congestion. Not for the reasons that people think so much, because people think that just by opening the road, you're going to ease congestion. But the reality of it is that opening the road is only the first aspect of easing congestion. What has to happen is that we need to put in infrastructure along with the road, additional amenities in that area, so that when people are coming from the eastern districts towards town, they will have the opportunity to do their business in that area rather than to come into the choke points in town. As well, us in Red Bay, it would be excellent if we had the opportunity to go left instead of right on some occasions in order to do our business. So that is while that Easterler Road is really, in my view, one of those things that I would like to tackle first, because I think it could solve a lot of problems. The fact of the matter is that the landfill has 3 years left to run, and that must be our priority.
Thank you, Mr. Ebanks. Mr. Tatum?
Thank you for the question. I will follow the pattern of three of my colleagues here and not necessarily choose one. I agree they're all important. Everyone I see there is important. But the three that I will choose is beach renourishment, yes, the Georgetown landfill, and the east-west arterial road. Beach renourishment is important. 7 Mile Beach is hugely important to us and to our tourism product. We cannot get around the fact that we will need to renourish that, and that can be funded by adding an amount on to the tourism, to the tax that is paid at the hotels. The Georgetown landfill, unfortunately, the PACT government lost an excellent opportunity for the country to own a waste-to-energy plant, a modern waste-to-energy plant that was expensive but still affordable. The price, I don't know what the final cost is going to be, given the increases, but there's no alternative. We have to find a way to afford it, and one of the ways we can afford it is by the fact that that waste-to-energy plant would create electricity and that would be sold to CUC, and that would generate an income stream. East-West Arterial Road is a quality of life issue. I have friends as well in the Eastern Districts, but to spend 4 hours, I'm hearing, in traffic is entirely horrendous. I used to live in Breakers for 2 or 3 years while we moved out there to save money, to be able to afford to build our house in Red Bay, and the rents there was much more affordable. Back then, we used to leave at 5 in the morning. I can't imagine what it is now. So those are 3 important projects that I think needs to be prioritized. We can, if we cut that old expression, or clause according to, or the clause that we need, whatever that expression is, but we can find the money to build these things. We just need to prioritize what we're doing, prioritize the projects. The PPM government that I was involved with over 2 terms did just that. There was no new borrowing over those 2 terms. We had good surpluses, and the till was replenished, and we were able to survive COVID.
Thank you, Mr. Tatum.
Ms. Thomas, our final question tonight, we'll start with you. Cayman's development plan has not been updated in decades. What are your top 3 specific priorities for modernizing the plan to address current and future environmental and infrastructure needs?
I think we've spoken a bit about those needs tonight, in a roundabout kind of way, and there's no beating the bush here. The 3 sort of top priorities: we need to modernize the plan, we need to sit down, we need to look at it, we need to look holistically at the entire Cayman Islands and prioritize initiatives, as we've discussed tonight. I mean, we've been focusing on segments, but there are other issues that are impacting these islands, and we have to look at it holistically. So and the top 3 specific priorities should be around roads, proper busing transportation system to deal with the increasing traffic needs. That includes not only school systems, private and public, but also just creating a reliable bus service across the island to reduce a number of plaguing issues. Secondly, we have to tackle the there's too much at the moment. A lot of people are crying about the overdevelopment. We must have sustainable development plans that balances our environmental, the environmental issues. We're losing mangroves. We're losing, can't think of the word right now. We're losing natural resources on a daily basis. We have to have proper environmental impact studies for all large-scale projects, and we must ensure that this is done. We also have to then modernize it by adding in, ensuring that in all deliverables that we do, we have to add in technology. Everything that we've discussed tonight, all of the problems that we've faced, there is technology available to enhance all of it. If we implement a busing system, we can add in ways to track visitors at bus stations to know when we can divert buses to where. What I'm trying to say is that it has to be data-driven, and we have to look at the technologies that's available for the various sectors. Looking at the plans in itself without technology that's available to us today, from speed cameras, CCTV, and everything else, there are ways to monitor it with AI, border control as well, all with drone software. There are a number of initiatives that we can do with technology.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Mr. Gold.
Thank you for the question. The reality is of the question that the plan has not been updated in decades. Past administrations have obviously dropped the ball. The PPM government had an opportunity. The UPM government had an opportunity. All of these governments have failed us. Now we are left to pick up the pieces and try to create an actual plan and execute it. Because what we've been hearing is a lot of planning and a little action. One of the first things we need to focus on before we start thinking about infrastructure and these other plans is where we're going to get the money from. The government needs to create sovereign funds, incorporate bonds, municipal bonds, and other financial investment vehicles that the public can purchase shares to raise capital for these projects. These funds can also be used for social benefits like elderly care and disability assistance, just to name a few. But again, I want to highlight the past administration's consistent failures to address these issues, and they're back on our doorsteps after decades of failing, asking for another chance. People, wake up. How many more years do they need? We need to figure out ways for the government to generate revenue in order to take care of our people. That's the top priority for us right now. Thank you very much for the question.
Thank you, Mr. Gold. Mr. Ebanks?
Yes. The plan to address current and future environmental and infrastructure needs. Clearly, we have been down this pathway for quite a number of years. I would note that even in the Vision 2008 plan, there were certainly, it was very elaborate and detailed plan about how to take the country forward on a number of levels. It wasn't followed. So what has happened, unfortunately, is not so much the plan, but the successive governments, and of course the progressives have had their part in that heavily, but that instead of focusing on the plans that are there, they've gone off and they've done more of their own pet projects. That is the problem with why we are where we are today. If you don't, you can have all of the best plans in the world, but if you don't follow them, there's very little chance that you'll have success. It is like deciding that you're going to have a plan for the Ritz-Carlton, but instead of following the plan, you're going to go out there and build room by room just by what you know from construction. It just doesn't work. We do need change. The opportunity is here now. There's fresh ideas on the table. I believe that as we proceed forward, more of those ideas are going to permeate up to the top, and we are going to have to look at how we develop this island going forward. There's already a public transport plan that is there. It's sitting right there. Nobody has actually gone to implement it. We do need to just stop planning so much and start doing. I think that is very clear from what we've seen. Again, we're in election year, and again, there's the usual lip service about planning and going forward. We need to stop planning. We need to start doing.
Thank you, Mr. Ebanks. Mr. Tatum.
Thank you for the opportunity. I hate to disappoint my colleagues to my right, but the last two individuals who looked to modernize our national development plan was Kurt Tibbetts in 2000 and Joey Hugh before the pandemic hit. Mr. Tibbetts was removed from cabinet in 2000, and the then national development plan that he was putting through went by the by. Mr. Hugh insisted on picking that up when he was minister, and he started a project along with the civil service that was called Plan Cayman. That Plan Cayman project had a good premise. Rather than trying to develop one comprehensive development plan, which is much too large to get done in one term, he and the civil service decided to, that old expression, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Divided Grand Cayman into 5 zones with the idea of doing 1 zone a year. Before the pandemic hit, the 7 Mile Beach corridor, the work on that was started. It was out to public consultation. Sadly, there was COVID. Everything came to a halt. There was an election, and the incoming government tossed that to one side and then started arguing amongst themselves in terms of which ministry would pick up the pieces and run with it. We will continue Plan Cayman when we form the government. We cannot move forward without a national development plan. That guides everything we complain about and we're concerned about: overdevelopment, transportation, the environment, housing. Airbnb has taken a large amount of our housing stock out of the rental market and the housing market generally. How do we say, without a national development plan, we are unable to say where it is that you can have commercial housing? So I will wrap up by saying that we will, when we form the government, go back and dust off Plan Cayman and restart the exercise and complete it within the 4 years.
Thank you, Mr. Tatum. Ms. Whitelock.
Thank you. I would support the review of Cayman's development plan and updating of that plan. We need to have a plan in place so that we will know exactly where we're going. We need to anything that we do has to be data-driven. We have to ensure that the persons who are specialists in any field that we choose to touch has looked at what we want to do, has given us their sound advice, and that we're moving forward in a way that is sustainable and makes sense and not just spending money haphazardly, whatever it is we do. We have to ensure that our environment does not continue to be damaged, that our wetlands and beaches are protected. Crime is out of control. We have to ensure that we put in more stringent means of finding out who's committing crimes, where they're going. We have to catch persons. We cannot have our people living in jeopardy and fear, constantly looking over their shoulders. We also have to ensure that traffic is taken care of, whether it's by putting in place policies and procedures, who can have a license, who can import a car, those sorts of things. Housing. Do we offer smaller lots to our people? Do we earmark lands for local residential housing? Do we have price points that are just for locals? Do we raise the PR investment threshold? 51,000, 50,000 is definitely not enough to buy residency in any country, let alone our own, where our own Caymanians cannot afford to buy anything because all properties that are at that threshold have been taken by expats in an event, in the need or in the race to get PR. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to thank the candidates. We've gone through 10 questions this evening, and now it's time for the closing remarks. But before we go there, we're going to take a short commercial break. Please stay tuned.
At CUC, we care about helping our customers. Here are some quick energy saving tips from CUC so you can use less energy and save money. Set your AC Smart thermostat to maintain an indoor temperature of 87 degrees Fahrenheit or higher when you are away from home, and have the temperature cool to a comfortable 78 degrees Fahrenheit or higher when you arrive home. Adding insulation can cut your cooling costs by 15 to 45%, depending on your home's size and current insulation. Focus on insulating your attic, walls, and windows for the best results. For your laundry, avoid over-drying clothes. Not only does it waste energy, but it also harms fabrics. Dry towels and heavier cottons separately from lighter weight fabrics to save energy. Your TV and gaming setup can be big energy consumers. Save costs by reducing in-game settings and turning off your console when not in use. Remember, every small step counts. Use energy wisely and make a big difference in your energy bills and the environment.
When you run your own business, you have a career as an accountant, stock taker, delivery driver, therapist, legal expert, mother, father, and the rest. But there's one area you don't need to be an expert in. At Brava, we take the complexity out of your business solutions. We keep it simple, so you can get along with doing what you do. Brava, the Simplify My Business company.
Welcome back to the Chamber of Commerce Candidates Forum for the constituency of Red Bay. Gone through 10 questions this evening. Now it's time for each candidate to deliver a 2.5-minute closing statement. And we'll begin as they were seated, which is by democratic process through a draw. And we'll begin with first candidate, Leon Gold.
First of all, I want to thank the Chamber for hosting this forum and for inviting us to take part in this forum. I want to start by saying there's a clear division of our people. We need to stop the divisiveness and the us against them mentality. At the end of the day, we are all expats because we all had to come from somewhere, regardless if you're a 10th generation Caymanian or not. We had to come from somewhere. We're all expats. We need to stop the fighting against each other. One of the examples of this was the incident that happened recently with a 17-year-old child that got attacked on the side of the street. And I want to say to him tonight, I have not forgotten the injustice that was served to you. And I am waiting on a response from the police to hear why the other person was not arrested, or if they were. I can't promise to solve, every problem overnight. But what I can promise is this. I have the ambition, the drive to bring real positive change to our community. I have already been doing work there, getting things done. And I will continue to serve with honesty, integrity, and a dedication to the people of Red Bay. I have been living there since 1985. more than most, I'm committed to Red Bay like it's my own family. When you go to the polls, you'll have a choice. You can choose the same old party politics with all their empty promises and constantly shifting alliances. Or you can choose me, an independent voice who will always put the people of Red Bay and the Cayman Islands first. I sit before you today with a clear message. On April 30th, vote for change. Vote for common sense. Leadership that will serve the people, not the powerful. When you vote for me, you're voting for someone who will always put you first, and together we will build a better future for the Cayman Islands. Vote number 2, Leon Gold for Red Bay. God bless the Cayman Islands. Thank you.
Mr. Philip Ebanks.
Good night, and I'd like to thank the Chamber for hosting this forum, and I'd like to also thank the people of Red Bay for the opportunity to allow me to come into their homes on the various times that I've been there canvassing. I've heard the issues here in Red Bay. I've heard of the inattention and the abandonment by the previous MP for the last 10 years. Irrespective of the spin that they might like to put on it at this point, it is clear that Red Bay is crying out for change. It is crying out for change to deal with infrastructural needs in the district. It is crying out for somebody that they have connectivity with as their MP. The old saying is that the MP has never been in that constituency. That's what they're saying. However, I believe that that's not absolutely correct. I think I've seen him there once or twice. The point with the MP and the connectivity of the MP to the constituency is clearly one of those issues which is near and dear to the people of Red Bay. If and when I am elected by you, the good people, on the 30th of April this year, I plan to be a full-time MP within the constituency. As I promised in my brochure, I will ensure that there's a constituency office. That constituency office is more than just a room in someone's house. It will be Red Bay House. It will be the place where we're able to ensure that the connection between you and your MP remains there. It's sacred, it's important, where we can have registers that ensure that we are able to contact individuals wherever they are and wherever the needs arise, and not simply to come along at Christmas and say hello. I plan to be there full time. The abandonment for the last 8 years is horrible, and they know it. They've said so in their own meetings that they're sorry, but regrettably, 8 years is really too long for now there to be regrets at this particular time. They should have been dealing with the constituency. They should have been there dealing with the traffic situations that we have there. Numerous things as simple as speed bumps have not been put down to ensure the safety and security of the constituency. Issues with traffic lights that could help to ensure that people are safer as they come out onto Shamrock, not taken care of. Drainage, horrible, not taken care of. It's too little, too late. You're asking for change. Change is here. Vote for Philip Ebanks, number 1 on the 30th of April.
Mr. Roy Tatum.
Thank you, sir. And I'd also like to thank the Chamber for hosting us here again tonight. I will let Sir Alden fight his own battles, but I can say that as I do my listening tour, I talk to the same people, well, if not the same people, I talk to people in Red Bay who are happy with the work that he has done and how he has cared for the community. All of us here care for our country, but this election isn't about caring alone. It's about choosing the person who is most ready to lead and to deliver for Red Bay and for the country. Next door to me in Prospect, Crystal Gomez-Wilson is running on a PPM ticket, and she and I have already decided that we will also have an office, and that office will serve as our community hub for the elderly and for the young, and to have activities. So I've worked inside 2 successful PPM governments, and I know what it takes to run a country. I was there when the PPM rebuilt our economy after the global recession, lowered Caymanian unemployment from 10.5% in 2012 to 5% before COVID hit, helping 3,000 Caymanians get employment over 6 years. Those governments paid down half of the country's debt, strengthen our country's finances. That's what helped us to get through COVID when the country was locked down for 2 years. And we made the tough calls and we got results. I was there during the dark days of COVID pandemic, working to help keep Caymanians safe. And I know what it takes to work within the government structure and to navigate the civil service system and to get things done. Leadership isn't about talk, it's about action. With my experience and deep understanding of government, I am ready to work for Red Bay. I will work hard. I will work from day one to serve the people of Red Bay and the Cayman Islands. I am prepared to work in the Cayman Islands Cabinet, fighting for Red Bay and protecting the interests of Caymanians and our islands at home and abroad. On April 30th, Red Bay, vote number 3, vote for Roy Tatum, vote for experience you can trust and commitment you can count on. Thank you, and God bless our beloved Cayman Islands.
Mrs. Natasha Whitelock.
Thank you, Will. Thank you, Will, Omari, and Jason. Thank you so much for having us all here tonight. It's certainly been a pleasure. But to my Red Bay people, many of you have watched me grow up. You are my neighbors, my friends, my church brothers and sisters, and you know my heart. I raised my kids in Red Bay. My grandparents spent their lives in Red Bay, and my parents still live in Red Bay. Red Bay will always be my home. All of us candidates here today are new, but not all of the ideas are fresh. I would know. I grew up in the PPM. I have chosen to join the Caymanian Community Party because our party values closely align with my values and our community's values. If I am elected, I will bring my broad professional experience in education, financial services, human resources, and security to the service of the Red Bay community. You can be confident that I will give you the representation you can be proud of on a national and international level. You have an open invitation to hold me accountable. Hold me accountable to bring to the community my strong work ethic, empathy, integrity, grit, and dedication. Hold me accountable to bring to our community a fresh set of eyes, new strategies, and my ability to work with and talk with anyone. I will listen to each of you, and I will lead from the trenches, not just sit behind a desk and delegate or ignore you. I will bridge the gap between government and community. We know our community deserves representation that is consistent, present, and not a repackaging of the same old ideas. You deserve an MP who listens and is accessible, who will be transparent, assertive, and support the will of the community on the national stage. It begins with your vote for me as your MP. On April 30th, please vote for me, Melrose Natasha Whitelock, and Team TCCP. Thank you.
This is Dawn Thomas.
Thank you. Firstly, I'd like to thank the Chamber and the staff in the room for facilitating this event. And I want to thank all the viewers that are at home watching online. I know it's getting late in the evening. It's clear. We all know the issues. What we desperately need is positive change. But let's be clear. The Cayman Islands National Party, which I am a part of, has no history of failed plans. We have not contributed to any of the issues discussed today. We did not contribute to the last 4 years of the $500 million increase in debt. We have no legacy of issues. What we're bringing to the table is solutions, new ideas, new people that are willing to pave a way forward. And in order to do that, Cayman is going to need some very, very strong, competent leadership that is action-oriented. Individuals that are based on values, that have the moral fortitude and the tenacity to fight for you and the equality of life that you deserve. Let's be clear. I run as part of the Cayman Islands National Party. I am one of many. We each bring different skills sets to the table. balance each other out, but together we are a collective force to be reckoned with. We are here to start a new chapter that will unify our people, create prosperity for all, and give them back hope to a brighter tomorrow. Thank you. Please vote for Dawn Thomas, number 4, Red Bay. We're here for real change.
Thank you, candidates. Now I'll turn it over to Omari Corbin, President of the Chamber of Commerce, for some closing remarks.
On behalf of the Chamber Council and staff, I'd like to thank Mr. Leon Gould, Mr. Philip Ebanks, Mr. Roy Tatum, Ms. Natasha Whitelock, and Ms. Dawn Thomas for participating in this evening's forum. I trust that this forum will help Red Bay voters make informed decisions about who to vote for when they go to the polls on April 30th. I would also like to thank Ashley Furniture and Home Store, CUC, Foster's, and Logic for sponsoring the Chamber's candidate forums. Please join us tomorrow evening as we welcome the 2 candidates from Bordentown East, Robert Borden and Dwayne Seymour. Please note that all forums will be posted on the Chamber's YouTube channel for future reference. Thank you for tuning in. I hope that you will join us tomorrow evening, and do have a restful night.
At CUC, we care about helping our customers. Here are some quick energy saving tips from CUC so you can use less energy and save money. Set your AC Smart thermostat to maintain an indoor temperature of 87 degrees Fahrenheit or higher when you are away from home, and have the temperature cool to a comfortable 78 degrees Fahrenheit or higher when you arrive home. Adding insulation can cut your cooling costs by 15 to 45%, depending on your home's size and current insulation. Focus on insulating your attic, walls, and windows for the best results. For your laundry, avoid over-drying clothes. Not only does it waste energy, but it also harms fabrics. Dry towels and heavier cottons separately from lighter weight fabrics to save energy. Your TV and gaming setup can be big energy consumers. Save costs by reducing in-game settings and turning off your console when not in use. Remember, every small step counts. Use energy wisely and make a big difference in your energy bills and the environment.
When you run your own business, you have a career as an accountant, stock taker, delivery driver, therapist, legal expert, mother, father, and the rest. But there's one area you don't need to be an expert in. At Brava, we take the complexity out of your business solutions. We keep it simple, so you can get along with doing what you do. Brava, the Simplify My Business company.